All right, family. Welcome to the Black Wall Street Renaissance. And this month's version is the Mind Your Own Business workshop. So again, we have a plethora of good information, quality information in store for you today. I hope you guys are prepared. Please grab your pens and pads. We have 5 speakers. We have Brother Larry Dawson is going to be the first one to come up and share with us. This brother here, we've been friends since I was about 21 years old. So we have some history, he and I. So I watched him go from the young guy from the hood and grow up and into his own, and now he has his own his own business but I'm not going to go too much into what he does because he can do that better than me. So without further ado, please put your hands together for my friend, my close friend, Mr. Larry Dawson.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Do I sound too loud?
Yes.
Too low?
No.
Perfect? All right. All right. I'm basically going to talk about, I guess, dreams, goals, aspirations, things that you want to do in life, things that you always wanted to do in life. Because I believe that most dreams and goals and aspirations are meant to be accomplished. And I know a lot of times we dream, sometimes we get off the dream, we come back, forget about it, but that dream constantly come back to us. And I believe that dream constantly come back to us because it's meant to be accomplished. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's been times where I've had my dream. I've always dreamed of being an entrepreneur. And I'll give you a little short story. I've probably got tons of stories I'm going to tell throughout my 30 minutes. But my first dream came to me when I was working for Pepco. My original goal in life, working with my brother-in-law back at the time, was to be an architect. And I grew up in D.C., Northeast, went to Phelps, took up architecture, engineering, drafting. Got a job at Pepco. Pepco hired me as a draftsman and, well, actually two departments, community relations and drafting. After a year there, long story short, Pepco fired me. My job was just to be on time. Get the job, get to work at 8:30 every day, be out of there about 4:30. My manager came to me and said, Larry, I can change your time to 9:30 if you want. I said, well, if I come in at 9, that means I got to get off at 5:30. So I'm like, nah, just keep it at 8:30. Week later, I'm coming in at 9:30 again. She gave me too many breaks, and until they said that, Larry, we're having a budget cut. We can't afford to keep you. I have to let you go. And keep in mind, in this whole time I was there, I was draftsman of the year 6 times out of the year. More than, and we did the competition every month. So I was draftsman 6 times out of the 12 months. So I was pretty much one of the best they had. So, but I want to go back to our dreams. And after that, my goal was to be an independent architect. At this time, I'm 21, 22 years old. I had the somewhat college degree, but it wasn't because I went to college. I was sent there, and it was paid for by Pepco. So after a while, I got out of that. Constantly wanted to go back to it, but I kept getting out of it. Then I met a guy out of Frederick, Maryland, who had a water filtration system. And he encouraged me to work with him in trying to do my own business. I'm like, man, I don't know anything about water filtration, but you can teach me. So I worked with this guy for about 1.5 years, and he eventually said, Larry, you know what, I'm getting out of the business, coming from Frederick to DC and Maryland. It was too far for me. So what I'll do is give you all my clientele, and you just take it on your own. took all his clientele. After a year and a half, I fell from that. But what I'm saying is sometimes you got to go back to where your dreams are. And even though I didn't get into architecture engineering, I got into home improvement, remodeling, home inspections, and I used my architectural engineering back and forth with my contracting skills. In my relationship one time, here I am still in my early 20s, late 20s, early 30s. I was told I need to get a job. Tried getting a job. Even my girlfriend told me one time, she said, Larry, you need to get a job. And so I looked at my buddy, he's top salesman for Comcast, making 10 grand a month. I said, you know what? I can do that. Since what I'm doing, I'm not doing it according to her fast enough, or I'm not making enough. And it was been times, I admit, I didn't want to go home sometimes because I didn't have any money. I'm gone all day, but no money in my pocket. So I tried what he did. Comcast guy. He was my best friend today, making 10 grand a month. I tried it 3 months. You know how much I came home with in 3 months? I didn't even want to give my girl a check. It was $300. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? See, but that was his passion. That was his goal. Those were his dreams, to be a top salesman for Comcast. I'm trying to do what he's doing when that's not even my dream. So I go back. And I'm saying this because I'm constantly telling you guys that your dreams will come to you and you'll forget about them. They'll come to you again and you'll forget about them. But then eventually you're going to have to do something about them because your dreams are meant to be accomplished.
That's right.
So, scared to go home, show her my check, because bills piling up. She's telling the girlfriends that, man, I don't know about this dude, man. I've been with him for a minute. So, after a while, sticking to what I know best, I became very successful. I started out in Maryland. Didn't do DC, started out in Maryland. And Maryland, even though we were in Bowie, we were really considered Upper Marlboro. But Bowie gave me an award out of nowhere, saying, I'm the best contractor in the city of Bowie. I'm like, where did this come from? I had no idea. They said I needed to make this was all in one day that I found out that this was happening to me. So, again, going back to what you know best is always better. Now, I heard a couple people say that you can dream, but you have to dream in a reasonable manner. You get what I'm saying? So you have to dream to the point where you know it's achievable, it's accomplishable. You know, I've been times where I've had times where I didn't think I was going to survive. And I'm not saying that what I'm doing was peaches and cream the whole time. I've had some hard times. Starting out, I was working without a license. I didn't tell anybody, and then whoever asked me, I told them I had it. They
Keep it real.
you know.
Gotta get it.
And then I get a letter in the mail saying, we're about to take you to court. I couldn't eat, sleep, drink, none of that stuff. You know how it is. When you get nervous, you're about to go in front of some people that you really don't even know. So, get licensed, did what I wanted to do. I'm a lot more comfortable. But again, it takes time to achieve the things that you want to do. You know, I've heard people say, you can achieve a lot, but when you succeed at it, you've done something. So, I've done quite a bit. Like I said, it's by the stretch of your imagination. There are going to be some hardships and some hard times that you're going to go through. But basically, what I'm here to say is just stick with your goal and try to motivate you. And for whatever dreams you may have, whatever aspirations you're trying to achieve, then go for it. Because you're going to have people pulling you from all sides of the aisle saying, hey man, you're not going to do it. You know, why are you messing with that when you could be doing this? You know, like I told you, my girl told me at the time, you need to get a job. And I was struggling there for a minute, but when you stick with it, as long as you have people in your corner that will stick with it with you, then you can go a whole lot further than you think you can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, so you just have to pull the people that are in your corner. You know, you're gonna have a lot of dream killers, a lot of dream that'll tell you you can't do it, it's not gonna work. A million other people that have done it already before, and people have told me that too. In the field that I'm in, they told me, man, the Spanish guys, they're gonna bid you out of your jobs. I'm like, okay, all right, well, I'll go take up plumbing and add that to what I'm doing. Oh, they're doing that too. Okay, I'll take up electrical. I'll add that to what I'm doing. And the most of all, most people don't know that we do HVAC too. So we incorporate everything into what we do. And I absolutely love what I do. I tell her all the time, my job is my passion. I love what I do. You know, and my aunt told me one time, she said, boy, why'd you go get, this is my first sports car. She said, why'd you go get that sports car? You going through midlife crisis? I'm like, oh, Bernice, I'm only 32. So I can't go through midlife crisis at 32 years old. I thought that was when you're in the late 50s, late 40s, early 50s or something like that. So I tried then, and I'm still doing it, living my dream now. I do the things I want. Of course, like again, I keep going back to sometimes you're going to have hardships and everything else, but I do what I want to do. I have a good team that's backing me. I have a good support team. And then sometimes that support team is key. And then sometimes even when I don't know something, I definitely will reach out and ask somebody to give me a helping hand. Because sometimes I know our egos will fly and say, nah, I don't need anybody help, I'll figure it out on my own. But sometimes you need that extra helping hand because you don't know it all. You know, but you always have that one person who can, even if they're not on your level or doing the same thing you're doing, somebody, somehow, some way can give you a little bit of inspiration that you never even thought would come from that person. So you just have to surround yourself with people, like-minded people. It doesn't have to be the same goal as yours, but people who have that entrepreneurial spirit, if that's where you want to go with it. Otherwise, you're going to have those dream killers constantly bringing you down and trying to destroy you. And I have there are a couple people that was always an inspiration to me. One was my brother-in-law, my sister's ex-husband. Growing up in my early 20s, he always said, hey, Larry, man, I need you to do a drawing for me. And here I am, not even out of school yet. I need you to do a drawing for me. Got a lot of projects on Georgia Avenue. I'm like, time. You know, I'm nervous the whole time, but with his encouragement, pushed me to go a little further with what I wanted to do. And then with that, he's been my inspiration. And believe it or not, I never even told him this. That's why I say you can get information from people that you never even thought would come from. He's been my inspiration the whole time. And every time I talk to him now, and he's like in, I guess his late 60s, early 70s, I tell him now, hey man, because of you I got into this field. But I never told him that he's been my whole inspiration for making what I do now, making it happen. I used to see him, he used to come to my Phelps in his red, shiny Corvette. I sat behind the wheel one time, and he said, no, the students came out the building. They said, Larry, is that your car? I'm in high school now. And then back in time, when I went to high school, you had a lot of hustlers with the Phelps, Spangard. These guys, they came to school with Mercedes-Benzes. You know, so for me to be sitting in a Corvette, brand spanking new at 17, 18 years old, wasn't really nothing to these guys looking at me, but I kind of like fronted and said, yeah, this is my car. But it was my dream to do something like that. And I was able to achieve things that I wanted to achieve out of life. There's been times where I always wanted the fancy 7 Series BMW. And then it got to a point where when you could afford it, you don't even want it anymore. So I never even bought the car. Now, I like driving around in cars that people really don't even want to drive. If I can afford a Hyundai, I would. Or if I could, I can afford it, but if I can find a good one, I would drive that. But I like driving in my pickup truck all the time. But again, stick to your dreams, have your goals, aspiration. You want to stick to that. Because a lot of times, like I said, people will kill your dreams. And believe it or not, my ultimate dream, which I never told anybody, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a shock to some of the people that I know. I might have to hide behind this little banner right here. But my ultimate dream it was to have my own business, but I wanted to learn to play the piano. So I started taking piano lessons. Didn't tell anybody because I wanted to be out with my family. There's a piano in the mall or somewhere or the lobby somewhere. I just wanted to walk up to it and start playing it, and everybody look at me and amazing. That's my ultimate goal. So I took up a few lessons. I didn't complete them, but I'm still going to go back to it to do my piano lessons. But then there's a lot of things that I always wanted to do growing up, and I'm the youngest of 5 siblings, but we grew up no mother, no father. We were actually split up when I was 2. I was the last child, split up at 2 years old. 2 of my siblings went to my aunt, uncle. 3 of us went with another aunt, uncle. And growing up, every time I was the only one that was shipped everywhere in the country because I was one, young, and nobody really wanted to know what they wanted to do with me. I guess I was snotty nose and fat head or something like that, but nobody wanted to keep me or have me as a permanent resident. I lived in Richmond, Tennessee, D.C., Alabama, and this is all before I was 13 years old. So growing up with that type of atmosphere, I always wanted something different out of my life. Until I got 16 years old, I moved with my older sister, and she raised me from that point on up to where I am today. Now, I moved out a couple times, and when I was like 18, 19, trying to get my own apartment. Can't afford it, so I had to come back. But she was my mother. And today, I treat her as if she's my mother. Even though she's my older sister, I treat her as my mother. And I'm the youngest of 5 again, but I'm the big brother. I'm the big brother. Anything my sisters need, I'm there for them. Anything my brother needs, I'm there for them. Anything my aunts, uncles, cousins, you name it, nephews, nieces, I'm there. So, again, going back to your dreams and goals, aspirations, you just got to stick with them. You got to take hold. Because again, people will destroy you every time if you're not comfortable. And then if you're weak-minded, you got to figure out who's going to be the strongest. Are you going to gravitate to the negativity and walk away from what you know best? Or are you going to gravitate or leave them and gravitate what's strongest in your mind? And that's what we have to know as a key, that we are in charge of our own destiny. You know, whether it's being a good cook, being the best police. I know everybody's not going to be, or everybody don't want to be an entrepreneur, to have their own this and that. You could be a good employee as well. Some people want to make it to the top of the food chain. Some people want to make it to the top of the business offices. And another goal of mine was to be a motivational speaker. I'm nervous right now. This is my first time. So, but I'll... Thank you. See, but the crowd makes me feel good. You all make me feel real good. And I appreciate that. And you know, you all make me feel good. And that man right there, he encouraged me. You know, he gave me that extra boost that I needed to be on this stage and be able to feel comfortable. Now, if you all would have been 250 people, 300 people, I would probably have been more comfortable. But it's more intimate, and then all your eyes are on me. So it makes it a little more nervous, but I'm okay with that now. But Again, going back to your dreams, goals, aspirations, follow to the T. Now, I've got a bunch of notes here that I don't think I looked at but one time. So I wrote these down so I can follow them, so I won't be nervous. Yeah, I'm not a sweater, so I'm not going to be dripping wet. Yeah. But I wrote these notes so I can try to follow it, so I can be okay with my speeches. So I'm gonna glance at some of these, but I'm gonna try to stick to what I know best. And again, like I said, I grew up in D.C., kind of poor, not a lot going for myself. But I had one woman in high school. She used to call me every day, and believe it or not, I don't know what made her come to me out of all these hundreds of people in my high school in Phelps. She kept coming to me. I wake up. My day, my weeks consisted of 4 days a week in high school. That's what I wanted, because I felt like I'm in 11th grade. Who needs 5 days of school?
Right.
That's what I felt.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
You a junior.
I'm a junior. Who needs 5 days of school? So after a while, this one lady in particular, I would come outside because I had to leave out the house. My mother and my sister was, she made sure I was going somewhere. And this lady would be parked in her car every day when I come out that door. Her name was Miss Lorraine Drew. She made sure I went to school every day. As a matter of fact, she was the liaison for Pepco that got me into Pepco. And she was disappointed when I got fired, but she was running the show in the community relations department. And she made sure that I got up every day to go to school. And doing that, it made me want to be in school. It made me want to be on time for a lot of things. And that's the way I am now today. And some things, if I can get to that that doesn't interest me, so I may be late, may not be on time, I may not even show up if it doesn't interest me. And that's the wrong attitude to have. If you're going to say something, you got to be about it. So and I always get, your word is your bond. Yeah, your word is your bond. Absolutely. Because in a lot of cases, a lot of times back in 40s, 50s, and even earlier than that, people didn't sign contracts to say, you need to do this and that. It was all done by handshake. And I try to live by that today. Try to make my word as strong as possible. My word, so a lot of times your word is really stronger than the paper that you write down on. And again, like I said, doing my business, you're going to have some hard times, and doing you guys' business, you're going to have some hard times and hardships. And not everything is peaches and tea. And I will admit, I've been to court twice in my business. One, because somebody said I owed them some money and I didn't do a job right. And with me being who I am, I have a conscience. See, I have a conscience, so that makes me want to do what I'm saying I'm going to do, whether it's on paper or not. And then I had another client said they overpaid me. And when they overpaid me, I said, no, I'm sorry, but you signed this paperwork. But in all fairness, I felt like I was underpaid. So not everybody is going to treat you the way you want to be treated until you take it on your own. And at this point now,
I'm a master plumber electrician, so I know exactly how you feel.
there you go. There you go. And we do a lot of jobs now. I'm waiting for a contract now with the state of Maryland, where we're actually going to do, to me it's a really simple job, but we're going to do the entire state of Maryland, every rest stop in the state of Maryland. We're going to change out the baby changing station. When you change your baby on the folding table, 4 screws, pull 4 out, put 4 in on a new system. And we're going to do everything in the state of Maryland. Most people don't know that the state of Maryland They have rest stops at those sand barges where you get your salt from, and state trooper barracks where you can use the restroom. And most women don't know, or most of the women that I talk to, they're always amazed that we got baby changing stations in the men's bathroom. You know, most people don't know that, but we do. You know, ask any man in here that ever been to any rest stop, and anywhere, pretty much, even at McDonald's or whatever restaurant you go to, they have them in the men's restaurant. So, but yeah, I appreciate you guys being a really good crowd for me, and this is my first again. Thank you so much. I got about 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions on what you want to ask? But I will say one thing though. Think about your dream. Think about your goals. And again, everybody is meant to accomplish the dream that's constantly coming back to them over and over. Otherwise, it's going to fade away, and then by the time you reach that retirement age at 65, when you didn't work the job from 20-something to 65, working a job that you really didn't even like. Then all of a sudden you say, well, I'm about to live my best life after 65 when I retire. Okay, wait a minute. You're about to live your best life at 65 until when you retire. How long do you have to live? You got about 15 more years. So you're going to, if that, you're going to live your best life from 65 to maybe 80-some years, which is about 15 years old. So why don't you do it now?
Right.
Start off now. You know? Thank you so much.
Question and answer.
Oh, okay. Question and answer. I'm cool with questions and answers. Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I own a pretty nice size remodeling construction service company. So what we do, on one hand, we do service where we do 24-hour service where we fix garbage disposal, ceiling fan, electrical, a hole in the wall on our service department, and then the construction side we remodel it, kitchen, basement, bathrooms, commercial, residential, industrial, and of course state government, stuff like that.
I'm so excited.
Hey, my name is Leon Shaker. I wanted to know, what was the biggest lesson you learned as your first year as an entrepreneur, so much as like building a team, rather than just being a one-man show?
Good question. Well, I was a one-man show for a long time. It put a lot of stress on me. I worked long hours. There's been times where I'll leave the house at 6 in the morning to get the job at 7 and be gone all day. Don't have time for nothing and nobody. Until I found people somewhat of like mind who wanted to help build, but didn't, even though that was my goal, most people are not gonna put their whole heart into what is your goal.
Right.
So sometimes you have to pull people, sometimes younger people too. Because I always had older guys that every time I worked with an older guy, they always wanted to tell me what to do. So got a little wise and said, I need to find people who's hungry. And I always heard Les Brown say that. You gotta find people, you gotta get people who are hungry. If they're hungry, then they can't eat unless they do something. So for building my team, you have to get people who are energetic, who are kind of goal-oriented, and then somebody who's looking to take over what you have. Because I'm building something not just for me, but for everybody. I'm trying to create a job for everybody, or whoever wants a job. My goal in this business is to be like Michael and Son. I don't want to do the bigger projects anymore. I want to do strictly service, and I think service can go a long ways, and you got to find people like that.
Right.
What time you get up in the morning?
But it varies. It depends on how I feel.
All right, that's what's up.
Now, the thing of it is that me, as a plumber electrician, everybody wants that money, but they don't want to get up at those 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's true. That's
They
true.
don't want to get out here and hustle 12, 14 hours a day.
That's true. Now I did have guys where you would call them up on the phone. These are guys that work strictly off commission. You tell them, hey, listen, I got a couple calls. You say, oh man, I was just about to do this. I was about to go do that. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you were hungry. You know, I hire people every week before Friday, Thursday night come, they say, man, what time am I gonna get paid tomorrow? You're more concerned about getting paid than actually working hard. And then half the time, me and my team, well, me personally, I don't feel you even work hard enough for it.
There you go.
You know, like I said, I know it's my goal, my dream to do what I need, what I want to do, and I know it's not yours, but you can't come to work every day and say, what time am I getting paid tomorrow? When you don't go to these other jobs and ask these questions. Again, thank you. Oh, one more question.
Well, wait a minute, because what we're going to do, the main question and answer session is going to take place at the end of all the presentations. We just gave him more time because he was done before his time period. So we want to hold that question,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Hold that question for him. Please put your hands together for Mr. Larry Dawson.
Thank you for doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, again, we're gonna hold your questions for the end of the whole presentation because we really on a tight timeline, so we want to stick to that. We're gonna take a 10-minute break, and while the next presenter comes up to prepare her time for you guys. So in about 10 more minutes. So take this time, please, to go around the room, check out the vendors, see what they have to offer, and, sow some seeds into the marketplace. Appreciate you guys. Don't go anywhere.